Can we just play this clip I gave you? It's at the bottom of Mandela and Castro. Well, all right. While you're finding it, it's in the Google Doc. It is. All right. Professor Wolff, talk about Castro's legacy.
Well, I find Mr. Obama's thing really unspeakable. The United States has been waging economic warfare against Cuba literally from the beginning of the enmity, which was within like 2 or 3 years after the revolution there in 1959. To say that walking around Havana, you see dilapidated buildings and old cars, that's the result of American policy. To comment on it as if it were some failing of Cuba, this was an economy 90 miles off our shore, intertwined with the American economy, a small dependent society with a monocrop dependence, mostly on sugar, which the United States cut off and wouldn't buy anymore after having bought it for decades. I mean, that they were able to survive this is an amazing political, economic, and social achievement. That they were able not only to survive, but to provide the young people of that society with one of the best educations and best medical cares in the world, which has been documented by the United Nations for decades, is an even more astounding achievement in the face of a blockade and the hostility of the United States. Are there things in Cuban society to be critical of? Sure. Is there any society on this earth where that isn't the case? No. And the Cubans are nowhere near the worst of it. You're making the mistake here of having a political disagreement make you into a clown when it comes to analysis, in which everything is awful bad and bad. And everything is good on the other side. This is childish. It's not appropriate to the world we live in, and it doesn't deserve to be taken seriously. And I think that Bernie was trying to introduce some balance here without becoming another opportunity for the extremist good and bad, black and white, to be rehearsed in this country yet again.
And not only is that, absolutely. And let's also add the fact that Cuba, that I'm more than open to having an actual critical analysis of that includes legitimate criticisms, but one that's based in reality of what they did achieve and what the odds they were against. In the 60s and the 70s, they're also helping fight other liberation struggles globally. Go back to the illicit history we did at Jamaica. They talk about actually how Michael Manley, the Jamaican prime minister, helped facilitate U.S. troops to go to Angola to fight the apartheid regime to help guard a liberation in Angola. Nelson Mandela was the toast of the globe in the 1990s, rightfully so, the great hero of South Africa. Here he is with Fidel Castro after his release and one of his first tours after the formal end of apartheid.
Before we say anything,
Antes de hablar absolutamente de cualquier tema,
you must tell me when you are coming to South
me
Africa.
tiene que decir cuándo viene para Sudáfrica.
You say, no,
No, un momentito.
Es seguro, si ya yo recibí.
The sooner the better.
and we have had a visit from a wide
Y nos ha
variety of
visitado una
people.
gran cantidad de personas.
And our friend Cuba,
Y nuestro amigo Cuba,
which helped us in training our people,
que nos ayudó a entrenar a nuestra gente,
gave us resources to
que nos
get
dio
on with our
recursos,
struggle,
que nos ayudaron tanto en nuestra
trained
lucha,
our people
que
as
entrenó a nuestros
doctors and so
combatientes, a
on.
nuestros médicos.
You have not come to our country.
Cuba no ha venido a visitarnos, usted no ha ido a visitar.
When are you coming?
¿Cuándo viene?
No he visitado a mi patria
I
surafricana.
haven't visited my South African homeland
La
yet.
quiero como una patria.
I love it as a
Quiero por él.
homeland.
You get to South Africa, you fool. But that's what they did. And even just in Brazil, it was an enormous controversy that Bolsonaro ordered out the Cuban doctors who were operating under the Workers' Party government, of course, also in Venezuela. So, I mean, we talk about the toll that empires cost on the globe, like the United States. This island nation rid itself of a U.S.-backed mafia dictator, gave everybody healthcare and literacy, and then did this. I mean, it's extraordinary to me.
But you know, the Cold War in this country, someday we will be mature enough as a nation, probably not in my lifetime, to be as honest about the horrors of our history as other countries are trying to be. I recently was in Berlin, Germany, and went to the Historical Museum in the middle of Berlin. There is a display of what the German Nazis did that makes you proud to be a friend of Germany today, to be in a country that can face what it did. No cover story, no fakery. There it is in its horror, in order to learn, to really make sure, not with a slogan, never again, but with a real commitment. When this country, the United States, faces up, not just to what it did to Native Americans, which is a story remaining to be honored, but what it did to its own development in the Cold War. 75 years of terrifying people about being interested in Marxism, socialism, communism, the anarchism, the critique of capitalism. We have a society in which we have had a lopsided cheering squad instead of social analysis, which is why we are so poorly equipped to deal with our society now that it is breaking down. We have ourselves lost our own weapon for critical thinking through a problem. It's like in economics, we don't teach people about business cycles because we need to pretend we don't have that problem. So every time it rears its head, we don't know how to handle it real well. It's a pathetic self-blindness of terrified, ideologically frightened people.
You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.